Hey, I'm Will Wheaton, and I have just received a dump truck full of gold bullion to tell you to watch the Scene Snobs.
Welcome to the Scene Snobs Podcast.
Welcome to the Scene Snobs Podcast, everybody. It's Tuesday night at 7 p.m. I'm your host, Mick Manhattan. I thank you again for joining in, and please join in if you will. We love to have you guys in the comments, reading them off, seeing what you guys think along the way. But if you guys really want to interact with us, make sure to head over and join our Discord and join our Facebook group. They're down. They have links right in our link tree below. We'd love to have you there. We got Facebook user back. All right. There we go. Is the world ready for this combination? It is not. It is not. I'm excited. It's going to get crazy. Hey, what's up, Facebook user? Now, if you guys don't know, Facebook user is our version here on the Scene Snobs of Florida Man. Every time we see him, he's got to be doing something crazy, like putting his head in an alligator or, his dick in a jar somewhere. It's got to be crazy. It's absurd. That's what it's all about. But I want to say thank you guys so much for jumping in, joining us. Things are going to be a little bit different tonight. We are going to be hanging out with Don Murray from the Hamityville Horror Podcast. And if you guys don't know, go check them out. The links are down below in the description. Absolutely should, especially if you're a horror fan. It's a lot of fun. So we're going to talk about some horror. We're going to talk differences between classic and some of our more gore-tastic favorites and elevated horror. We're going to get into it a lot, but when we are done with that, I have to sadly say that our segments on the show are no longer going to be part of this show. And that is Snobs Movie Summer School, which is actually the second to last one. Next week will be the last. And then, of course, our other one is Did I Just Fix? And the reason we are not doing those anymore is because we actually I've turned those into produced videos. So you can check them out on our YouTube channel. We get a little more involved. We put some, more story to it, script to it and everything else. So hopefully you guys are enjoying them, checking them out. We've also brought back another fan favorite. If you haven't checked it out yet, we've done 2 episodes so far. And that is, if you haven't guessed, Does It Suck? That's right. That's where we go back and we revisit stuff that maybe critics hated, fans hated, whoever hated. And we ask the question, does it suck? Because a lot of times when you go back and revisit stuff, it just hits differently. And that's what it's all about. So I am super excited. We did have a Did I Fix for tonight, and that video will be out tomorrow. But I am not going to sully it by telling you what it is tonight. So that segment is gone from this show. So no more summer school, which is turning into Snobs Film History. So please, if you were interested in film history, we just did one last week. We talked about the studio system. This week's we're talking about Video Nasty in the UK. And next week we'll be talking about the Hays Code and so on and so forth. And today, given to us by AJ. Thank you, AJ, for the choice. I did a Did It Fix on Suicide Squad from 2016. So go check out those videos on our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit like on the video. Make sure to hit subscribe and make sure to hit notification bell. All right, let's see what some of the comments are saying. Then I'm going to bring Don in because I know they're all here for him because ain't nobody here for me. Don, so this is the place. Yes, Charles, Don is here and he is coming on in just a second. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Facebook user. Are you doing an auction, Mick? Not today. I am not doing an auction. This is a regular podcast, but keep watch because we will be doing a charity event very soon and it's going to be a lot of fun. It will be in October and it will be horror, and Sir Sturdy and I are working on it together. So that was Donna Jean Phillips. Oh, Donna Jean, what's up? Oh, you can't be Facebook user. Facebook user are terrible people. But not you. You're the best, Donna Jean. You are. You're beautiful people. Thank you. All right, guys. I've put him on for long enough. It's been 4 minutes. Let's get the guy out here. I don't want to talk about any more of my stuff. Let's talk about him. The man, the myth, the legend, Don Murray. What's going on, man?
How are you, brother?
Good, man. How are you, sir?
Welcome. I'm doing good. I just want to make sure I let you know, too. Congrats on everything you've been doing. And you look fantastic.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I'm working on it. The beard's getting a little scraggly. I got to go cut that down. But
you'll be all right.
You too, man. How you doing? How's the show's going? Tell us. I don't want to interject on you. I'd like you to tell me and the audience what you do, your podcast, and everything you got going on.
So we started the Hamityville Horror Podcast last February. Been doing it for a little over a year. We've had some really good guests on: Patricia Tallman, Catherine Mary Stewart, Judith O'Day, Brian Bremer. We've had some good people on, and me and Clint have really tried to get behind the indie horror world because that's kind of where it's going now, especially with the whole, SAG strike and everything like that. So, we've really got our hands deep in the indie scene. So we love what we do, man. And, we're a snobby, nominee. I want to make sure to throw that out there too. So, yeah, brother, I appreciate you having me on here, and that's kind of wrapping up what we do. So,
yeah, man. Well, that's awesome, and I love that you put that with the indie is sort of like this. It's the strength of what's going on in the horror film world today. We were talking about it last week with my guest Mario, how basically new independent horror is basically the cult classics of today. It's what we're finding. It's what we're discovering. What we know we love, and it's different. It's out there, and it's counterculture. So it's great that you guys are really shining a light on it. I love to hear anybody shining a light on anything independent film based.
Yeah, we try. We really do. We a Slasher 15. We're really big with Jason Pitts, Acro Star Studios. We're really big with S.J. Herman. Julie Prescott, we love working with those guys. Anything that they have to release, we put on our group page. We tell them to share, because it's not going to make it, it's not going to make itself. It takes a little bit of funding, but we both know that it doesn't take $30 million to make a good movie.
That's for damn sure. As long as you have a good crew, you can make any damn movie on any budget, really, and a good one.
Absolutely.
I've seen firsthand working on them that you can have a better product just from the enthusiasm and like sometimes deferred payment of a project than when you're getting paid, ready to go, like be here, be there, ready. It's because it's so formulaic and you're not having that fun.
Yep.
I've done the studio and I've done the independent. I gotta tell you, the independent's a lot more fun.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree.
Studio pays well, though. I will tell you that.
Yeah, right. We're not discounting that. We're just saying.
Well, paid me well.
Yeah, right. I didn't get paid. I didn't get paid anything. So
I wasn't a writer and I wasn't an actor, so I got paid well.
Hell yeah. Hell yes.
No, but that's awesome, man. And so, in your journey, so that was February 2022, right? Or it wasn't 2023. Mm-hmm. You've been here forever. I mean, you've been here for a while.
Mm-hmm. We have.
Very cool. So, since you've started the podcast, and you guys have been going on and you're doing it, what are some things like you've learned along the way in the horror world that you're like, okay, if I'm going to maneuver this, I have to start thinking differently, or I have to start working on something?
Well, you kind of just said it right there. You got to think differently. Because you're not just really you're still a fan, but you're watching with the critical eye. You're going through and you're critiquing these movies and saying, okay, when I was a kid, I didn't really care because I was just having fun, and I'm still having fun. But it's like when people are asking our opinion and people want to know, what do you think of this movie, that movie, and we usually try to find some redeeming quality, or at least Clint does. I usually just bash the absolute shit out of it. But Clint finds the redeeming qualities of it. But every movie, the biggest thing that I always say is somebody made a movie and I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, because they did something, and I tell everybody that we interview, any indie people, you've done something that 95% of the human race will never do, and that's make a movie. So kudos, congrats to you for doing it, because I've never done it. I just do a podcast about it.
But you know what? You're creating something, so don't sell yourself short. That's
True.
Important. And I say that a lot, because this right here, what we do, with the podcast and the videos, things and such, it's damn near a full-time job. Like it is so much, and when you're passionate about it, you're not complaining. You love it. Some complaints here and there, but
of course,
like anything. But you love doing it. But I gotta tell you, when it's yours, you work harder. And I've worked harder on this than I have on any set I've ever stepped foot on.
You've done amazing. You've done great. So don't sell yourself short either. You've done an amazing job with this podcast, and you guys have been around since 2019, right?
2019, the podcast came out. Yeah. We were before that. I was just writing under the Scene Snobs, so it wasn't. Yeah. We had another podcast, but that was much different.
Got it. Yeah, right.
That was a very comedic, raunchy type of podcast, but it was fun. I will say that. It was
watch my language. Whoops.
No. Go ahead.
No, you're
Feel
fine.
free. That cursing thing went out the window real fast. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try and be a little different. And then,
well, I heard Dick in a Jar, so I was thinking that it was kind of like, all right, now it's no holds barred maybe, but I'll make sure I don't go too crazy.
It was more of a rule to rein in a few guests that I had that were just like, we're going to let this roll. And it's like, we're really going to push this and see how far we can take it. And it's
like subtitles are not getting turned on.
Yeah, exactly. So, in the world of horror today, and so much has changed. I know you're a big fan of the old school horror, especially 80s, 80s, 90s, but I know you like sort of all of it, really. Before I ask and we get into the topic, I have to ask you about the name of your podcast, the Hamityville. I need to know, and my viewers need to know why the Hamityville. I love it, but why?
Me and Clint, we met in a hole-in-the-wall bar in Hagerstown, Maryland. Speakeasy, I think is what it was called. And we just were like, let's do a podcast. Let's start a horror movie podcast. And he's like, why? Everybody does that. I'm like, but we're a fun team. We have a good dynamic, good balance. So we tried to figure out a name, and we went through so many variations of it. And we had originally had a third member. His last name began with an M, so we were going to do like something with M's or something off the wall. And then I just looked at Clint and I was like, dude, why don't we just do Hamityville? I'm like, it's easy to remember. We can use like a couple things from the Amityville horror, like the house behind me, and everything. So, and it's kind of taken off. I mean, even you made a stick at it with this, you really hammed it up. You can use so many different variables with it, but it's easy to remember. We didn't want to make it too complicated.
To me, that's key too. Like, don't make it too complicated. You're from around the same area I am. In fact, we live in the same town, so it's kind of funny. Yeah, actually, right. I don't even know why we're on camera.
I don't either. I could just drive to your house or walk to your house.
I didn't even think about that.
Man.
Well, sign up again.
Yeah, right. Part 2.
So you have the link. Sign up again. We'll do it in house. But the Scene Snobs was actually birthed when I first moved here. It was in 2013. I started writing, and I was writing on a thing called Movies 365, and I could not stand a name, and I couldn't get the website for it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, well, I can either stick with it or change the name and try and find something that actually defines me a little bit.
Right.
So I went with the Scene Snob. I would just sign off with the Scene Snob, but it was because of the Sports Junkies. Because at first I was like, it'd be kind of funny to call myself the Scene Junkie or something like that. And then, of course, there are Screen Junkies. And I was nah. All right, I'm not stealing anybody's name or anything. That's messed up. But, and then it birthed from the Sports Junkies from here in D.C., good old D.C.
Oh, yeah, old D.C.
You're an Orioles fan, I know, so I could see it on your head.
I'm from Baltimore, so I kind of have to be, especially as good as we're doing now.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
But it's not going to last. I'm sure we'll go 1, 2, 3 down in the playoffs, so...
I have faith. You'll be good, man. You'll be good.
See what happens.
So coming down from Baltimore, coming down to Virginia, which is arguably one of the most haunted sections you moved down to, so it fits for you. You're doing your podcast here. You guys do you do it in person, or I've seen some where you do it remotely, but
we usually if we do a get together, me and Clint will like hang out if we're doing like a convention or something. We usually go during the weekend. We usually have our Hamityville hangouts on Saturday nights. So we try to keep them going. So sometimes, you'll see me with him or maybe even with somebody else at some point. But yeah, normally we do them remotely.
That's awesome. And so for you, like when you go to the conventions and things like that, I've seen you on a few and more you're getting out there with the name and such. What's that been like? Has it been surreal? I know people mention you, they know who you are. So it's gotta be like a really great feeling, right?
We've had a couple of people that knew who we were. And it was really, it's just humbling to know that, people are paying attention and people are actually, I guess watching and I don't expect to be, the next, last podcast on the left, but just having, the biggest thing is having fun with the people that, we've really really gotten close to. In fact, we just got back from a trip for the Poconos with about 5 or 6 of us, and I don't think it would have ever happened unless this group was a thing. So yeah, it's something that we built and something that we're proud of, and yeah, I can tell you that
Nice.
it is surreal to have something that people actually enjoy.
Very cool. And they are enjoying it. You do good work, man. It's a lot of fun. You guys have really good rapport with each other. So I am one who will call out bad podcasting.
Oh, I'm sure you will. And as you should.
And well, that's only because like I've seen people get into it and then they do it for the wrong reasons and then they don't change. So I'm like, well, if you want pointers, I'm happy to give you pointers. And I'm not one of the guys who's trying to sell you on a coaching class or anything.
Yep.
But keep it up. Don't keep it up, or if it's not working for
I've
you.
asked you for pointers.
Yeah, well, true.
So, and you've come through. So I appreciate that.
Oh, I'm happy to do it, man. Anything we can do to help. So, and Slutty the Clown says, "Good evening." Says Hamityville family. I wasn't sure of the name, so I'm just going.
That's Miss Claire, and it's Kyler. He's
Kyler's
one of our regulars that show up to the hangout. What's going on, guys? So happy you guys are watching.
It's very cool. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. So I got to ask, when I brought the topic up to you today, I've been doing I did a video on Video Nasty of the UK in the 80s, and it got me thinking how much horror has changed in tone and societal message and things like that. And with the term elevated horror existing today, I think it gets like a bad rap in a lot of ways. And I've heard some really smart people put it in a good way. But, I think a lot of people tend to peck at it. And also people who are only fans of elevated horror tend to peck at, the campy and the gory. Before we get started, what do you feel about elevated horror? What are some of your favorites?
I hate the term like elevated horror just because horror in general is split up into so many genres, subgenres, sub-subgenres. You don't need another one. And the biggest thing that I've taken away from it is it's like a artsy, snooty horror movie when it's really not. Take for example Hereditary. That's probably one that's top of the list for a lot of people when it comes to the elevated horror, just horror in general. But the thing that I don't like about it is the fact that they act like it's like a new genre or a new way of storytelling. There's 2 movies that come to mind the minute that I think of elevated horror that came out in 73 and 74 back to back. The Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's no slasher. It's all psychological. It's and that's because there's no stalkers or slashers. You barely get to see Leatherface at all in TCM until the very end. Basically, he's never really stalking anybody,
and he's not even he's the one with the chainsaw. So when you get to the massacre section of it, he of course is the face, but he's not the only one terrorizing either. He wasn't. Nope. He's arguably his brother's terrorizing just as much as he is in the movie.
Yep.
And so on. But and I love your point on it. I was talking to a friend. I was talking to Master Shake the other day. He's been on the show before. People know him.
Yep.
And he put it really well. I never thought about it this way. He said, he thinks that a lot of people who are fans of elevated horror are trying to distance themselves from the problematic eras of horror. Like sort of in some attempt to say that horror hasn't always been progressive, which I don't agree with.
I don't agree with it either.
And he put it well too. He goes, somehow, their horror is more advanced in some way, when I don't agree with that either. Horror has always been and always will be commentary on what is within and without. They just used to be way more subtle about it. Now that I definitely agree with. And yes. I do find it, and he brought up a good point here, where it's like a pseudo gatekeeping of like who can be an elevated horror fan sometimes. And it's, you're savage if you don't like it. And
wow.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I agree with what he said.
What he said, yeah, there's no question. That's probably one of the best ways I've heard elevated horror put.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to mention it tonight, because like it was when he said it, I was like, yeah, that really kind of hits that nail on the head. And I do. I like some elevated horror. I didn't like her. I'm not a big Ari Aster fan. I think he needs a better writer, but he films a beautiful movie. So for me, when it comes to elevated horror, like the A24s, which is more along those lines, and some of the other, like Gravitas Venturas, who puts out a lot of different things, but they are putting out some elevated as well. As I'm watching it, I do think that if you take away that we're calling this elevated because we don't want it to be with horror, that's bull. Just shut up. First of all, you guys suck. But you're not going to come in the horror genre and take a whole section and be like, nah, you stick over there with Killer Clowns. Like, no, go to hell.
Oh, I mean, the way I look at it is, horror is horror. It's it never needed to be, and just in a genre itself, it never needed to be explained. It never had needed a reason to exist. It never needed a reason to have social commentary with it. I just think, and you saying it, put it really well, was, the evolution of horror. I mean, we're in, 2023. If you go back and look at 1980, you have it's the slasher era. It's nothing but slashers and haunted houses. Yeah. So when you look at what you have now, absolutely it's evolved. It's 100% evolved. And whether or not people put it in a good way or a bad way, way I look at it is, shut up and watch the movie. If you enjoy it, awesome. If you don't, awesome too. I'm not gonna sit here and berate you and say, well, oh my God, you don't like It Follows, so you're an asshole.
I will, because that's a great movie.
Okay, because it's a great. Yeah, I mean, I would do that probably, but it is a great movie. And even like the metaphor behind that is STDs. Why do we need anything like that? Nobody needed to look into that far. Just look at the type of movie that it is. It's scary as shit. You have an entity that's following you, regardless of what it is, what it's all about. It's still terrifying, regardless.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's actually funny that you mentioned that, and then to kind of disagree with you on a certain point there. I always feel, we've always known that horror has been very societally aware. Like, it's always a commentary on what's going on in society at the moment. That's never not been the case. So anybody who's only elevated horror saying that is ridiculous. So,
right.
But for me, when I'm watching, so like you said, when you brought up, sorry, my brain just all of a sudden.
And you can't disagree with me. I'm the guest.
You can't. I can't disagree. No. But what you're talking about in the sense of like the elevated versus back in the day. So let's take It Follows. It Follows has a commentary of STDs. To me, that's where the elevated pops in. That's where the true name should be.
Yes.
It's because back in the day, when Christianity was really ruling everything, and even the movie industry, what were horror films doing? They were killing off people having sex, doing drugs, and drinking. And in It Follows, the killer's killing off through sex, but it's making you more aware. And tell me any teenager who watches that isn't now like, holy shit, like, you're going to be more frightened of STDs than you were of Jason killing you just in case,
Yeah. Okay.
And I like that change. I like that we've gotten to a point where the fans making it are saying, there's some things we need to kind of switch up here, some tropes or cliches. So I dug that aspect of it, and like even going into the Ari Aster, Midsummer, which I am not a big fan of at all.
I don't like that movie.
Yeah, it's just to me, it's not a well written movie. It's got the bones. I mean, it looks amazing. It looks fantastic. Well acted. Everything. But the story, it's got the bones and the themes that could be really good. But I just don't think, I think he misses Martin. I'm telling you, he just needs somebody to write with. Him and Rob Zombie need writing partners. They need Quentin Tarantino to come in and just help him write.
Oh, God, there you go.
That would just be amazing.
It's game over, yeah.
So, watching something like Midsummer and everything that he popped in there, and that is, to go back and watch some of the horror that, like, the dark half. Let's say the dark half is one that kind of stands out because nobody really remembers it, but it's Stephen King.
Mm-hmm.
You have mental health being addressed there. but nobody knows. Nobody has any clue.
No.
And I think because it's more prevalent in the movies we see today, like a Midsummer.
Or like The Babadook.
The Babadook. Good. Yeah, good pull. Very good pull on that one. Yeah, I think that's why it gets that stigma of like, this is elevated horror, just because we're more aware of it. And I like what Dan said in his, where it's like, we used to just do it a little more subtle. Yes, it was weird. We had subtlety to our social commentary in horror movies, but it was so in your face. Now we have more like in your face societal aspects in the movie hidden, and it's not in your face horror anymore.
Yeah, you're right. It's I mean, I guess it's just it's just a different level of horror. I mean, it's only because it touches on things that, like you said, social commentary, and like one that I have a problem with is Suspiria. They consider the remake of Suspiria to be elevated horror, and I'm like, did you see the original one?
Yeah.
Clearly not.
Yeah,
because there was nothing. It was nothing like, you know, watching a Dario Argento movie like that. That was like, oh, this is legit. But it was like, you know, comparing that to the original and saying that the new one is elevated horror and the old one's not. Like, why? Just why?
It's disturbing to me, the gatekeeping sense of, you know, what they're doing in that instance and how they're using elevated horror as like, and to use the word, I guess, properly, the snobbery that goes along with it. The whole point of this damn name I made up was to make fun of these people.
Boom. There you go. You got it.
So, yeah, so it does bug me to see when like things are, because there's merit. First of all, I'm kind of with Clint on that. Like when I watch a movie, I look for the merit in everything. Now I know there's bad. I know, like I used to say there's no such thing as a completely bad movie. And then everybody would argue with me. And I'd be like, I get it, but there's always some aspect. If you can walk away with something, like even if it's a story from the filmmakers, you've walked away with some aspect from this movie that made you feel good. And how many bad movies have we really watched?
Again, like I've said, man, you know, I've never been behind the camera. I've never written them. You've written for things, you know, it's not easy to do regardless. So I'm never going to sit here, you know, and I just pick on Clint a lot because he, you know, the movies that he says, oh, you know, it was fantastic. I'm like, dude, this is not. But, you know, realistically, I mean, there's movies that we've seen that, yeah, I mean, like you can go cinematography. And this is the things for people out there. If you ever do want to start a horror podcast, this is what you got to pay attention to. So it's not just the movie in itself. You have to look at how was the lighting? How was the acting? How was the story? You know, you have to look at a lot of that stuff. How was the sound? Because I can tell you, sound is an absolute killer with not just horror movies, any movie, but it seems like with horror movies, man, if the sound sucks, it's done. It's done.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't even care about video quality as long as the sound's good.
I had I remember in film school we had to do a sound design class, hardest class I've ever taken.
I bet.
I'm surprised I passed it. But basically what they did, they gave you a 5-minute scene, which when you hear 5-minute scene, you're like, oh, that's easy. I can do that. And
eternity.
It's eternity. I was telling my wife the other day, I was editing one of the videos, the Did I Fix? And it's like 5 minutes, 5 seconds long this week. It took me 2 days to finish that video, to edit all the way through from day to night. And that's because like, it's just, you're always cutting, I'm trying to find the right footage, you know, and nobody realizes, I'm writing it and stuff and getting filming and everything. But
yep.
I should put that part in there. But and going back to, you know, to this, and like you said with filmmaking, and I agree, but I do think that true, honest critics who have the integrity to keep it honest and fair and just not attack. I hate when people attack because like you can joke.
Sure.
I'm not above jokes or anything, especially on podcasts. You have to. You got to
have to, yeah.
But like if you are legitimately attacking a filmmaker for no good reason, like I mean, if they give you a good reason, that's fine. But for no good reason. You're just tearing them down because of their movie. Like, I will never tear down a filmmaker because maybe I didn't like the movie.
No,
and it's not fair. But we do have to critique these things. We do have to review them because honest, true filmmakers who, whether they made a movie or not, they will come out and they want to be critiqued because they want to know, how do I make changes? But they're going to only listen to people with that integrity, with that honesty. So that's why I say, I was like, if anybody wants to be a movie critic, you damn well better have some trust behind your name.
Oh yeah, you just can't, like you said, just can't go in guns blazing and just be like, this movie sucks. Well, why does it suck? And if you can list the reasons, fine. But again, you have to go back and look in the total, spectrum of it and see what was good about it. Because there's always something good about a movie, regardless of how bad it really is. There's always something good.
And that's I'm glad you said that, because there is always some aspect. Like even in Speed, I was talking to somebody the other day. I love Speed.
Sure.
That is
talking about the movie, right?
Yeah. Good touche. So I was talking about that movie, and somebody had said it was bad, and then I was talking about somebody else, and I was like, "What? Like crazy? That movie's not bad. That movie is exactly what it needs to be, and it's fun." And I realize it's not a masterpiece, but there's one scene in that goddamn movie when Keanu Reeves acts. One scene, and it's the best acting I've ever seen him do. And I don't consider him a bad actor by any means.
Right.
But it was his moment, and that is when he's on the bus and he finds out his partner died.
Yep. And
it's just the rage. Now, the reason I bring this up is because a lot of people write off 1995 action movie about a bus with a bomb on it.
Did you watch the sequel? Go watch that and tell me.
Okay, I can. Willem Dafoe is badass in it.
Okay, that's it. Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not saying there's a whole mess load of reasons. I'm not saying like
I was like the person that said Speed was shit. Well, go watch the sequel and then come back and let me know.
I know, right? Oh my god! But Willem Dafoe was badass in it.
Willem Dafoe
is a terrible movie, though.
Yes. All right, as long as we're on the same page there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can recognize bad movies. Don't get me wrong, and there's plenty of them out there.
There are.
But there's always something. I always find something I enjoyed about it. Some aspect. And something I can learn from it, really. Like, what I do want to do or what I don't want to do.
Exactly.
Now, while you're analyzing horror and you're reviewing stuff and we're, talking about the differences between the classic and for argument's sake here, because there are so many subgenres, I'm just going to say elevated horror of today or independent horror of today.
There you go.
And classic horror. So if that were, or we can talk about the blockbuster horror, like the new Exorcist, but I really don't care. I don't. Yeah. How do you feel?
I don't care. I can't believe they got Ellen Bernstein to be in it again, and she's like 148 years old. Just leave this poor woman alone. I mean, seriously. I mean, the trailer looked cool. I mean, it did, and that's the thing, honestly, and you can look at it like this too. You can bring that into the fold. The remakes, the retellings, the sequels that are, 40 years too late. I mean, The Exorcist doesn't need a sequel.
No.
It never did. It never did. Hell, if you look at it, Halloween never needed a sequel. If you really want to be honest, Halloween never needed a sequel. Do I like Halloween 2? 100%. In some aspects, I think it's better than the first one. What?
I think it definitely ties some things together for sure. Yeah. I don't know if I fully agree with that because the filmmaking in that first one is just off the rails.
Oh, absolutely. There's just certain things in the second one I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, I get that.
But I think, 1 and 2, just end it there. I mean, seriously, why do we have to go 12 other movies and just completely and utterly just shit on these last 2 or 3?
Well, yeah, see, I was fine with it. See, I'm always fine with all the sequels. I don't mind. Like, I love Friday the 13th. I watch them all. Even the remake, I'm all for
it. I like
the
remake.
You hated it?
I like it. No, I like the remake.
Yeah, it was a good one. In fact, out of all the remakes, I would say that's probably one of the best ones.
Yeah, that and Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great pull. The 2003 version, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Because there are a few that came out since then, like the one that came out maybe a year or so ago. And I didn't hate it because of the gore aspect. It was a good gory movie.
I didn't know he could swim. and hold his breath for 15 minutes.
Those are the parts. And also the fact that Leatherface was just living in an orphanage for 50 years. Okay.
Right? Like, cool. All right, that's cool. Like, that's it has some cool things. Like you said, the gore and the bus scene was badass, no doubt about it.
And I do like that they brought back was it Jenny?
Yeah.
Jenny back for it. And it wasn't her, but like they brought back the character. At least to kind of give some closure. I know they were going with a Halloween type of feel for it.
Oh, yeah.
What are you gonna do? It is what it is.
I agree.
But those are the characters I think you can keep doing sequels for. Now, if they never did another Halloween sequel besides the first Halloween, that's immortalized. That's fine, because that is a movie that, again, when I watched that first one, it's so different from every other one,
100%.
Even the second one.
100%.
And then when you watch like Friday the 13th, like that first movie is not that different from that second or third or fourth or so on.
That's all right. Touche on that one. I will give you that one. 100%.
Again, like Speed in the horror section, super fun. Love doing it. We'll marathon it. It's a great time.
Yeah.
I'm not putting them down, but I know their place. I know what they're at. Nightmare on Elm Street, I would compare to Halloween. That first one, if you made that first one and let it alone, it would be immortalized.
Yep.
The rest are so far different. Even the third one, as much as I love it, and it is the closest to the first one, especially with Nancy in it.
Oh, yeah.
It is not the same.
It's leaps and bounds different than the first one. It's, again, like you said, man, and to get back, to just touch back on the topic of the elevation with horror, I will say that these movies, as even as bad as they may be, they do their job. Yeah. They get you talking. They get you to say, hey, did you see this? Oh, well, let me tell you about it. And then that person goes and says it. And then 2 more people. And then next thing you know, 40 people that just listened to a conversation that you started are going to see that movie.
Yeah.
So I will give them credit for that, without a doubt. But again, you're not going to see, well, it's funny. You could even say that some of these newer mainstream are elevated horror. Look at Halloween. Look at Halloween Kills and Ends. You don't even do 2018, because honestly, I like 2018.
I did. I like 2018 as well. And in fact, if you took all the movies out in between the first one and 2018, I would have been cool with it.
Sure. But look at Kills and look at Ends. They're almost elevated horror, and they shouldn't be.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that, and the reason I'm so glad you said that is because I think that's what's wrong when you try to make elevated horror out of the classics.
Yep.
But also when you don't know why people like elevated horror. And that's what I mean. It's that gatekeeping of like, well, if I make Michael Myers elevated horror, it'll be amazing. And it's like, no, you gave us Corey Cunningham, and I hate, don't need him ever again in my life. Of course, if I go see The Exorcist and he's there and he's playing the goddamn demon, I'm going to lose my mind.
I'm going to walk the fuck out.
I won't walk out.
Is what I'm going to do.
I'd be lucky.
I had enough of that kid.
Yeah. Oh. And then no offense to that actor, but you really screwed yourself by taking that role.
No offense. I agree. Now, but you got like Evil Dead Rise. Okay. Now, very good. But they didn't, again, the biggest thing, and I'm not going to take anything away from movies like Barbarian or, Us or Get Out or The Witch or anything like that. Like, these movies stick with you. They make you think. That's one thing that obviously the old horror movies of old, they don't do that. It's sit your ass in a chair, let's have fun for an hour and 20 minutes, and go to town. These make you uncomfortable. Elevated horror movies make you uncomfortable just because of subject matter. And honestly, that's unfortunately to me, that's the only reason why people consider it elevated horror, is because there is a commentary behind it, because you can point at it and say, well, they're talking about racism, or they're talking about boobies, or they're talking about whatever the lighthouse was talking about, seclusion, the witch, religion, and it's like, if they wouldn't have shoved those down your throat at all, they would have just been regular horror movies.
True. Yeah, and I think a lot of it does come from that marketing of like, this is different. This is a different type of feel. And when it comes down to it, if you really just played that, I bet you horror fans would be like, I'm intrigued. I want to see this. You're not hitting me over the head with it. You're not treating us. It's so funny. 30 years ago, they were treating us like Satanists. Now they're treating us like we're idiots. Like we don't even know who Satan is.
Like, damn.
So and it's evident in some of those movies. But I would like to ask you a question on what you think, your opinion on this. Remember in the 90s, there was like this insurgence of, let's just say, I think it was like the early elevated horror, which is like the Ninth Gate or even like the Sixth Sense and things like that. End of Days. Ones that like, they were stepping up into, and it was like, okay, we're going to make this a horror movie, but we're not going to call it a horror movie. This is going to be something different. So now I think they just stuck with elevated horror.
I think it just got labeled that. I think it was just, they, like I said before, with like, say, The Exorcist way back when they had elevated horror right then and there. They just didn't call it that. And, then you have, the Last Exorcism or Exorcism of Emily Rose or Autopsy of Jane Doe or something like that. It's like, and anybody that likes horror and likes elevated horror, they can call whatever they want elevated horror. If you honestly think about it, every single horror movie, if you want to critique it like that, can be elevated horror. I don't recommend it.
No.
I recommend you sit your ass in the chair and enjoy yourself for an hour and a half, and don't look at it as any more than, let's have fun. If it's a good movie, you like it, thumbs up. If you don't, I'm not going to crucify you for it, because it's your opinion.
I like it. I like that. That's the way you should do it. You're right. It's a great point. Don, that was awesome. Now we're gonna go over some comments real quick if you got a few minutes to hang out.
Of course.
So, and I want to ask you a couple more questions, just more fun horror related stuff.
You got it.
You guys are a horror podcast. October's coming up. Do you have any big events that you're going to be going to? What do you got planned for October?
I think we got a Monster Mania. I think that's in October. We're going to try to do. I know we're trying to do a couple episodes that are kind of like, obviously Halloween based, maybe not on Halloween, but, like maybe like Trick or Treat or something like that. Underrated movie right there. Our hangouts will have a Halloween theme to it. We just, honestly, we just shoot from the hip, man. We just, whatever we think about and like, hey, this would be cool to do. Let's go do it. I know Mahoning Drive-In has been doing a lot of these events on the weekends where they're Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Friday and Saturday, and they're showing like double features on Friday, triple features on Saturday. I know we're going to try to start doing maybe a couple of those. A couple of us want to go, let's just say, exploring into places we shouldn't go.
I get that.
So now we're going to go to Centralia, which is like Silent Hill, basically, where Silent Hill's inspiration came from. Some stuff in Pennsylvania. Other than that, man, like I said, we just kind of, we just do our reviews, we do our episodes, try to get some guests on and just have a good time.
Well, keep up the good work, man. You're killing it, dude.
We're trying.
Let's see what some of the people are saying. We got a lot was happening while we were talking, but we're having a good talk, so I don't want to take it away.
We are.
Abby does not like It Follows.
Okay, Abby.
And then, of course, Dave is saying, Bo is afraid, men too elevated for me. That's fair.
Yeah.
I did not like it either. He just needs a writer, I'm telling you. Don't forget the witches. It was always the witches. That's true.
That's true.
Talk to Me is our first mystery movie at the Regal, and when they played A24 logo, I yelled "fuck" at by accident. I heard good things about that one.
I have too.
I don't know.
I've heard good stuff.
Most people think Jordan Peele's work is elevated. No, it's just great stories and visuals with a message. Another sex horror movie franchise is contracted. Phase 1 and 2. You know what? I would actually agree with them.
I would too.
I don't think Jordan Peele. I think Jordan Peele is actually closer to what we know in the 80s and 90s horror because, you think that he's hitting you over the head with a lot of stuff.
Nope.
They were doing this, and he does it subtly, but then turns it on its head by adding to the story the fact that people are black. And you are automatically have your, systemically, you're thinking certain things when you watch this movie as a white person.
Yep.
He gets you. He understands.
I will echo that 100%. If there was anybody, that, doesn't just beat you over the head with it, like you said, it's Jordan Peele. I mean, he remade a couple episodes of The Twilight Zone. And, he put his own spin on it. And even back, and again, man, if you really want to push it, The Twilight Zone was elevated horror, and tell me that it wasn't.
You know what? It was so new for the time. I don't even think it could be considered elevated because it just was the standard for a long time.
Yep.
Like we're going to see, we're going home to watch Twilight Zone because this is intriguing to us. And you're right. Like by today's standards, even today's standards, the Twilight Zone has better stories than most of the elevated horror.
I believe that.
That's an anomaly show. From a writing standpoint, an anomaly show because there are episodes of that show that have been copied over and over and over again, so many different things, but it still remains like untouched. Like nobody has been able to produce stories like that.
No,
even like remakes of that show have not been able to do it. Rod Serling, man, he just got it, dude. Like he just I don't know, that guy was otherworldly with his thinking. Yeah,
I mean, it's the material that they hit, the subject matter that they hit. I mean, it was ahead of its time. I mean, one of my favorite episodes is where it's just a game of pool. With
Fats Domino,
Jack Klug, and I think it was Jonathan Winters is who played Fats Domino, and it was like it. And yet again, here's the commentary. Be careful what you wish for. You want to be the best. Now you beat the best. And now you're going to be doing what he did. You're going to be getting, I can beat this guy. I'm the next, puller on the block. And, now you're getting called down and you're having to play these games.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It really is. And I'm so glad you brought that show up. I'm surprised we didn't talk about it because the fact that it touched down in multiple genres, not just horror, but I mean, it was always horror based. I don't care what anybody says. A lot of people like to push it towards sci-fi, and it's like, there's definitely sci-fi elements. Do not get me wrong, but
yes, absolutely.
But that horror is prevalent, and there are episodes that still we watch horror movies that we adore today, classics that were based off that show.
Twilight Zone, the movie. Hell, I'll go right to it.
Yeah, true.
I mean, it's incredible. It stands alone on its own, and it holds up well to this day. See, that's what I really look at with any kind of horror movie or show or anything I watch. How is it today? Can I sit down and still think about the things that they talk about, laugh at the things that they talk about? And the Twilight Zone, it's right there, man. It's like we just actually watched 4 out of the 5 seasons, last month, and it's like it doesn't get old. Like you can still Outer Limits, Tales from the Crypt, any of those you could sit down and do it with.
In fact, Outer Limits and Tales from the Crypt are the only two that I think ever came close to Twilight, but I still don't think they've reached that level.
It's hard to do it, man. Like you said, Rod Serling, I mean, genius, absolute genius.
Both great shows, though. But it took teams on those shows to do what Rod Serling was doing every week.
Yep.
So it still amazes me.
What was his other one? Night Stalker?
Night Gallery.
Yeah.
And
that was good. That was good too.
It was a well done one too. Yeah. Absolutely. He made a name for horror, and he loved the genre, of course. And
I was thinking Kojak. Kolchak was another good one.
Kolchak, the Night Stalker.
Yeah, Kolchak was a good one too.
Yes, that was a good one. I will a lot of horror movie based shows. Next time you come on, I think we need to get more into the horror TV base. I love to see it.
2 I could think of: Salem's Lot and It.
Oh, okay. Let me talk to you about this then, real quick before we go. So we're talking about TV movies now. Salem's Lot was remade.
Yep,
and it's being remade again, which we'll see how that goes. But
Mhm.
it'll be elevated horror. But it was remade in like 2001, 2002.
Rob Lowe.
Rob Lowe, yes. I think that's a better version of the movie.
Woo!
Ooh, you disagree, huh?
Ooh.
Hit me with it. It's all good. I love the original. I do not want to put that
See,
down.
here's the thing. See, this is why we get along so well, and this is why we can have conversations, because I don't shit on like reboots or remakes. And the Ninja Turtles are the ones that I can think of the most. You look at the early 90s Ninja Turtle movies, okay? 1, Secret of the Ooze, okay? Incredible movies. 3, not going to talk about that one. That was a bad fucking movie. But when you go in and you know, like the new one that they made, the brand spanking new one, the Nickelodeon one where they're all CG and they're bigger than half the people in Manhattan.
Mhm.
I went in there and I'm like, I'm not going to think about the old ones because it's not the old ones. It's not the same Ninja Turtles. It's not the same origin story. I'm just going to go in with an open mind. And that's what I do with horror movies, man, because if you don't, you're not only are you not going to enjoy yourself, you're going to make sure that nobody else does. You know, and somebody else may have that different opinion. Like I said, you like that one better than the TV version with David Soul. I'm just partial to it because me and my dad watched it so many times. Do I think that the remake is bad? Not at all. Not at all. I think it's up there. It's well done. Trust me, there are remakes that should never have been attempted. I'm looking at you, The Fog.
Talk about, you know, like Superman in the Fog. Here's the thing. I didn't hate the Fog remake, but it just isn't the Fog.
House of Wax.
That was my big thing. Like, I was like, if you called this anything else, I would have been cool with it. I probably would have liked this movie. But you were remaking the Fog, and the Fog's made by a genius. So, like, it's always going to pale in comparison, no matter what.
Yep.
And it's, I really like your point there, though. That's well put. Well put. Everyone's pretty much here. Yeah. So Canadian boy Ryan says says late 80s had him with the Seventh Sign. And elevated horror. He ain't wrong.
There you go.
What's up,
That's
Radar?
He knows.
Clint says, how do you define elevated horror? Avoid tropes and try to add deeper theme and meaning. There was a point somebody said on here I want to get to. The Guardian was kind of a perfect blend of elevated horror. And The Keep.
Yeah, The Keep. Yeah, I was thinking The Keep.
I mean, that would be a cool list to put together. Elevated horror throughout the years. Like, if people are considered this elevated horror, this subgenre, what through the years can we say matches that? You know, be an interesting thing.
I mean, it's again, that's an interesting take on it, because things were so different. You know, people looked at things so differently than they do today. It's you know, and one thing that I'll tell you, Mick, one thing I won't do, like I'll stick with watching these elevated horrors as they come out, but I'm never going to backtrack and try to figure out what's elevated horror. I'm not going to do it.
Fair. I don't blame you. It'd be kind of, because
how many movies would it ruin?
True.
You know, be like, oh well, this is what they were saying, instead of it just being some asshole with a machete. Now it's going to be, oh, hold on, there's got to be another meaning to it, and I'm all fine with that, man.
Although, if you do it, if the list comes out right, maybe some of those elevated horror fans that are gatekeeping might say, you know what? I'm going to be the judge of this. I'm going to check some of these movies out, check them out, and then boom, are just horror fans.
Do it. That's when I'll be more than happy to do it.
Use our powers for good.
Damn right.
Talk to Me was phenomenal, Facebook user says.
Okay.
I got to check it out. I heard great things.
I have to.
This is where I'm going to defend Jordan Peele and M.
Night. Okay.
This is so I have different opinion on M. Night Shyamalan. I think a lot of people do. Well, first off, I don't agree that Jordan Peele is like M. Night Shyamalan. I think Jordan Peele made 3 great movies. Well, Keanu was great too, but
right
in his horror filmography, I think he's made 3 great horror films that were different, and not everybody was going to like them, and that's fine. He's trying things. He's doing things differently. To me, I would compare him more to Steven Spielberg in the horror world.
Yeah.
You know, remember when Spielberg was like attempting to like do some horror, like when he
Mhm.
could, he had that. Well, I would compare him to that, but Jordan Peele has more freedom to keep doing it. So M. Night Shyamalan is a very talented writer, very talented filmmaker and director, and he's told some really fun stories that I like. He is a product of his own first movie's success. It was his demise. And my feelings on that are, after that twist was so huge all over the world, like it was pop culture, it affected people all over the place. There was no way he could make a movie for the studio without a twist in it. They were expecting him to be Rod Serling.
Yep.
And he just was young.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that one. And honestly, I would say and the Steven Spielberg comparison, I like 75% agree with you on it. I think Jordan Peele reminds me of Tobe Hooper.
Hooper. That's a good one.
Just the things that he did, you know, he got outside of his comfort zone. Mm-hmm. You know, Poltergeist, and he directed Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
And it was like he did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And look, I mean, but he knew what he was doing. Jordan Peele's the same way. Like, he knows what he's doing, but he's sticking to the formula. Whereas, like you said, M. Night Shyamalan was a product of his own creation and destruction. Now you have to have a movie that has a twist. It doesn't matter what the movie's about. It better have a twist, because now you're known for that.
100% right, man. I can't argue with that, and it is true. And like that's I'm with you on this, because like that's how I've always felt. Like, it's just, if you don't have a twist for us, and I think Signs, because I think he did Unbreakable, and he got away with a reveal more than he did a twist, and I think he was cool with that. I think he was like, that was an easy reveal. I had that, and now the studio's happy, but it didn't do well, even though I think that's probably his best movie in the bunch.
I would probably say that, or Split.
Yeah, Split was so good. I like Split a lot. Personally, I would probably go towards Unbreakable. I think it's the comic book.
The comic book, yep. That's where I'm at.
And then, you know, I think in Signs was his way of trying to make a movie without a twist, and I think that was a shoehorn twist. I think the big twist was going to be the water, and they didn't like the water, so they made the wife.
Yep. I think he changed that, and I can tell you, and anybody out there that knows me that's watching, I despise The Happening. I hate that movie with a passion.
Oh, God, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Oh, would everybody shut up? I'm doing science. Over here.
What the hell? Yeah, get him, Marky Mark.
Oh, it's the wind. We got to get away from the wind.
Get away from the plant spores. God damn it, I hate that movie.
The movie is so fucking stupid. So everybody's saying, Radar says he's an Outer Limits guy. Well, you're wrong, sir.
Tales from the Dark Side was good. I won't lie.
Tales from Dark Side was good, and Monsters was good too. But it was,
yeah.
But they weren't that level though. They still don't even reach like Tales from the Crypt or anything. Like, they were good though.
They were good.
Clint's elevator horror has always been more thematic and deals with the more mature themes. Not mature as in boobs, mature as in something that looks at our world and has something to say about it. I disagree. Watch People Under the Stairs. That deals with a very big societal, economical, and racist society, and it's in your face. You know, so and trafficking even. You know, there's many themes in that movie that look out into the world, and we can do this all day. I mean, hell, we can do that. We can go all the way back to the Universal Monster days, and
there you go. Stole words out of my mouth. I'm like, go back to. I mean, look at Frankenstein. Like, there's the quintessential social commentary right there. You want to talk about in your face, yada, and that's the thing too. They couldn't even get the damn monster's name right. It was like, he's Frankenstein. No, that's the name of the doctor. He's called the monster. So it's like, or Frankenstein's monster. And then like the little girl with the flower. That's one scene that you watch that scene and it's like, okay, he's really a monster. He doesn't know his own strength. and that's what happens.
Yep.
So
he has no idea. He's got the brain of a brand new child, basically, and it's wonderfully done how it's played out. And I would even argue that Bride of Frankenstein takes the acting in that theme even more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautifully told story, and altogether, like you think a lot of these horror movies don't have that elevated type of thinking, and they do, because we tend to go back to the Silent Night, Deadly Nights, and they deal in very mature themes. They're dealing in rape and murder, and but that's an in your face theme.
Yep.
But tell me The Shining, you can't tell me The Shining doesn't have themes. Abuse, mental health,
alcoholic.
Yeah. It's
yeah.
It hits you, man. And there's so many movies that we can talk about that.
Holy shit, dude! You know what? I think you might have just hit the ultimate one right there. The Shining. You really want to talk about elevated horror for its time? That was it.
I would even argue this point. This will be my last point, I promise, on elevated horror. There is no elevated horror movie as people see it today in any way, shape, or form that is more elevated in the horror genre than Night of the Living Dead.
There you go.
Pick it out at the time to have a black actor step in and play the lead role to fight off white men in the 60s? No way. In a rural area? Like, come on. Like, that's more elevated. More, it touches down on so many themes that aren't just racism, it touches down on so many themes in that movie that are very subtle. There's no, you can take any elevated horror movie today, and I would say, no, it's got to be.
And again, my big thing, and this will be my last point because I know we're over time, but it's a good conversation.
It is.
And I knew coming into it was going to be a good conversation. That's why, I was like, make sure I get all my stuff done before I sit down, because I know it's going to be a long one, and I am completely fine with that. But, my big thing that I still always come back to is I always separate myself from elevated horror, because I'm just the kind of person that I just don't want to believe it's there. I don't want to subject myself to it. When I watch a horror movie, especially, and all the classics that I've watched, that's what I come to the show for, the horror part of it. Whatever comes after, that's fine. But when I see it for the very first time, I come for the horror, regardless of what it really is. That's why, like The Witch, I fucking hate The Witch. I hate it because I'm not a slow burn person. Now, can I do it? 100%. Do I want to do it? Not really. But I went back and watched it, and I'm like, okay, now I kind of understand everything. But there was stuff about that movie, like the English language, the way that they were using it. I'm like, I can't keep track of what these people are saying, and just made it hard to watch. But you take a movie like Hereditary, and I echo with what you said too. I'm not a big fan of that. But am I going to say it's a bad movie? No, it's not my type of movie, because it's not a horror movie.
Yeah,
just like Barbarian, it's not a horror movie. Do I think that's the closest? If you want me to give you a movie, an elevated horror movie, that's as close to regular horror or our genre of horror, I will probably say it would be Barbarian. Because Barbarian, if you didn't see it, Barbarian was terrifying. It was pretty freaky. Bill Skarsgård did a great job in that movie.
And even for what he was in, like what he did, like, absolutely. Now let me ask you this,
Sure.
sort of a trick question. So I'm telling you ahead of time. What do you think Megan is a horror movie?
I'd have to say yes, because Child's Play.
Boom. That was my trick question.
I'd have to say, yeah, because it's, that's where it got a lot of its inspiration from. And, yeah, I'd have to say that's a horror movie. And again, you could put any kind of elevated spin you want on it, but I'll tell you at the end of the day, that's a horror movie. That's a doll. That's a slasher. That's a horror movie to me.
Yeah. And I want to, Ryan is in the comments, and I just want to give him.
I'm sorry for anything Ryan says.
It's because F-13 deals with survivor's guilt. That's true. Tommy Jarvis saga is how cope with PTSD. Absolutely. I agree. I mean, there's definitely an elevated aspect to it. And Donna Jean, I want you to know your opinion is valid and it means something to you, and it's yours. If I disagree with it, never, ever, ever apologize. No. I completely respect you and who you are.
And that's the biggest thing is that, and that's another thing I'll say about both of our podcasts. I respect everybody's opinion. I respect everybody's, outlook on everything. Mm-hmm. It's an opinion. We're here to have fun. We're here to have a conversation. And if I don't agree with you, I will never, ever bash you and say you're wrong. That is not my style. We will have just like tonight, we'll have a great conversation. And, we may not agree with 100% of the things we're saying, but you know what? We're having a good damn time.
Damn right. I agree. And it was actually Nicole. So Nicole, never apologize. I respect your opinion for sure.
Nicole, shut up.
I'm sorry, but if you're going to use a hashtag Corey was a good idea and then say y'all have lost me, I do consider them horror, but it is like I just consider them. Well, not Barbarian. Barbarian was good. I did enjoy Barbarian. Hereditary, no. Hereditary sucked. I hated that movie. But
Ryan, don't you ever do that hashtag. If you ever do that, I will kick you out. I will kick you out and block you. That is an opinion that I will disagree with. No,
there's only 2 Corys.
Corey was a good idea.
My horror movies.
Jesus.
And that's
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that he stepped into the chat. God.
Well, Don, I want to say thank you so much for joining on the show today. I really appreciate you. And please sign up again. We'd love to have you back on.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have a really good time with it. Guys, stick around because we've got a couple more segments left. We're going to say goodbye to Don. Check out these messages, and I will be right back. You're not going to want to miss these segments, trust me. What's up, movie snobs? Are you ready to take your love of pop culture to the next level? Look no further than Entertainment Earth, your one-stop destination for all things entertainment. From rare collectibles to the latest must-have items, they've got it all. Whether you are a fan of superheroes or a sci-fi lover or a classic movie enthusiast, Entertainment Earth has the perfect treasure waiting for you. But it gets better. By clicking the affiliate link down in the description below, you'll get an exclusive discount just for you being our amazing viewer, and we thank you guys. Get 10% off if you click on the link below, and if you spend $79 or more, you get another 10% off and free shipping. Check it out. Take advantage of this because it is truly awesome. Guys, for coming back, I want to thank Don again. Don was awesome, man. Don was a really fun conversation. Great time. Hopefully we can get him in studio next time, so if you guys are interested, make sure you hit like on the video and make sure you hit subscribe. We really appreciate it. It helps us go a long way. The YouTube channel has a lot of stuff. And if you're new to the show, you may have seen since, I've gone solo, I've been doing guest co-hosts, and then I would do 2 segments. The first segment would be Snobs Movie Summer School, which is continuing on through next week, but is then changing to Snobs Film History, where I would talk about film history. That's why I've been doing the studio system. That's why this week is Video Nasty, and next week will be the Hays Code. We'll be talking about all that and more. You can check that out on Thursday. That video will be up. You can check out the Video Nasty. It's a lot of fun. Also out right now, if you are a horror fan, Discovering Horror, our new series. Do you know somebody who's a new fan to the horror genre and wants to get into it but doesn't know where to start? This is the show for them. Each episode, we will be going over different actors, different movies, franchises, directors, things like that, all within the horror world. Sometimes talk about special effects, the whole 9 yards, all the way. So guys, go check it out. But you're going to miss it if you don't hit subscribe, and you're going to miss it if you don't hit that notification bell. And also, Last Man Standing. This Saturday, we will have a new Does It Suck? I checked out Last Man Standing again for the first time in 30 years, and I asked the question, does it suck? But tomorrow, thank you, AJ, for giving me this movie. Did Mick just fix Suicide Squad from 2016? Find out tomorrow on our video. But today, I got to tell you, we are doing 2 new segments. Very interested in. You guys, if you were fans of the show, you may have heard some of these terms before. You may have seen some of these bits before. But we're turning them into segments. There will be clips on the YouTube channel, but of course, part of the Scene Snobs podcast as well. And it is interactive. We encourage you guys to jump in. I'm going to be asking you some questions. The first one up is, let me explain. That's right. Hollywood nepotism has been insane lately. And I got to tell you, I am not thrilled with it. But at the same time, I've been rethinking some things. So let's get into it. Feel free to join in the comments. But yeah, let's get started. So Nepo babies, right? Nepo babies is a big term right now. In this segment, we're going to dive into random things in the industry, and I'll explain them to you, if you will. And then we'll see. And then as we're diving into it, the phenomenon that you've undoubtedly heard, Nepo babies, as I was saying, just stick with us because we're going to go over everything. Okay. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I would love to hear what you guys think about the whole situation. It's a very divisive topic. All right. First things first, what is a Nepo baby? The short is nepotism. Baby is basically individuals who found a place in the limelight largely due to the familial ties to the industry, like the Baldwins or like Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen with Martin Sheen, Jaden Smith with Will Smith, things like that. Or Willow Smith. When your child gets into the industry and kind of brings it in. So and is brought in by the parents, and they have kind of a leg up on people just outside of it coming in. And it tends to really bug a lot of people. We've seen this trend for decades. It's it's easy to dismiss these Nepo babies, thinking they got roles for, or records, deals only because of their last name, but some genuinely possess that talent. I mean, look at like Ethan Hawke's kid, Maya Hawke. She is fantastic on Stranger Things and other things she's been doing as well. She's a really damn good actor. She takes after her mother and father, Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke. And, Angelina Jolie, also another Nepo baby. Her mother and her father, both famous actor and, actors in Hollywood. And she stepped up and she probably surpassed them. So if we see that happen, should this be their calling? Or is this just getting leg up? That's why I've been questioning a lot lately with this term. So, but the criticism really is many argue that Hollywood is already tough to break into, and then nepotism is already heightening the barriers for newcomers. How many movies have we seen where we wonder where someone got this role, whether they got the role because of their parents are. It can be incredibly disheartening, for many trying to make it. It sucks. It really does. Like you're missing out because somebody famous's kid got the role. It's a lot. And I can imagine like how devastating that would be when you're trying and working at it. But then I do get it. Play devil's advocate. I do get it. My parents were big names and could help me. Wouldn't I want to take that, take advantage of that and really like use it to my, to get in? It's a divisive topic, but there has been a shift recently. We're seeing so many new faces in Hollywood, some amazing talents and others that maybe aren't cut out to be on camera, more for being famous, an influencer. Definitely platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and social medias have democratized fame. They've given a platform to those without the, industry connections. And they can do it outside the industry. A lot of people can do it from Chicago, and become famous. I'm sitting here in Virginia and I'm doing this now. I'm not famous, but whatever. Yet traditional Hollywood still remains a tough industry to break into. With as much backlash as there has been against Nepo babies and the rise of influencers and content creators breaking into the businesses in a different way, it makes me wonder what the industry is going to look like in a decade. And I really do, because if we really think about this Nepo baby thing, it's nothing new. Jamie Lee Curtis is a Nepo baby, if you want to be technical. Kiefer Sutherland. We can go back and back and back. Carrie Fisher, the whole nine. Like, we can go back a long way. I think the big difference is when Hollywood was just starting out and you had a lot of silent actors kind of coming in, there a lot of them were Broadway, vaudeville, things like that. And their families were out of it. They weren't attached to this, so they didn't get involved. And, the stardom was a lot different for kids back then. And then the 50s started coming. Kids had a little more to do. There were more kids, not kids movies, but like teen movies being made, things like that. And it called for more younger actors. And we saw a large rise in these actors' children coming up. But it was such a big moving machine, it wasn't going to always be all movies, movie stars, kids coming up. They didn't want them all in there. I think it's just generational. As we've been going on and on, we've seen more and more coming. And now we're at a point where it's going to be. That's all these kids know, and all these studios want is to make money off of the possibility of the parents being in a movie too, or being on a TV show or whatever, and bringing their kids in and doing this stuff. So it's really messing with the ecosystem of Hollywood. But again, how do we just say it's bad? Like, it's been going on for years, that's the legacy of the Nepo babies in Hollywood. People are pissed, but I don't know if I agree with it. It feels more like jealousy, but I know how inconveniencing it could be and how much it could suck. But what do you think? Sound off in the comments or tag us on social media with your thoughts. Or better yet, do us a favor, head on over and join our Discord and or Facebook group. We'd love to have you a part of them, and we'll discuss it there. We have great conversations and more. And please feel free to share and connect with everybody. Thanks for watching this segment of the Scene Snobs Podcast, or the clip on YouTube. And now let's get to our last segment of the night. All right, let's see what you guys are saying, though. Is there anything you guys been talking about with Nepo babies? Sub to your channel. You are a true fan. Looking forward to looking into this more or your stuff. Thank you so much, Canadian boy Ryan. I really appreciate you. Thank you. All right, let's get to our last segment of the evening. That's right. It's a mixed movie pick, and this is going to take you guys, and it's going to be a new segment. So allow me to explain. Mixed movie picks is something that I started when I was doing, I was doing TikTok and things like that, and I would do a mixed movie pick, and like every so often it would just be something different. But I wanted to get into it, so I created this segment to kind of work on it and things like that. So it's called Mixed Movies Picks. How I'm going to do this, I'm going to recommend cinematic treasures. So it's going to come down to. This segment has a twist, though. Instead of me just doling out a recommendation, I'm giving you the power. And now I'm going to give you the power. I've selected 4 distinct years in film history. And our lovely audience, you guys, you're going to decide what year you want me to pick. And that's the power of the choice. And I'm going to give you a movie from that year that I have chosen that I think that everyone should check out. I think across the line, if you pick this year, this is a good movie for you to check out. So the years that I have tonight that you have to choose from, and just please, why don't we do it? We'll try to do it. Whoever votes first gets it. But if we, as I'm talking, before we get into it, and I do the final recommendation, we will just see how that goes. If nobody gives a recommendation, I'll pick a year. All right, so that's the years. Did you get them? 1941, 1975, 1999, 2010. Sound off in the comments. Let me know what year. First person to pick the year. And from now on, we will be doing the poll every week on our social media all week long. Please feel free to go and vote. So you got to follow us, though. So if you go down over to this side, we're everywhere. We're all over the place. That's right. And you're going to have a good time with it. So let's get into it some more. Before we choose, once I see what you guys choose, I will get into it. So each of these years hold a special place in film history, bursting with gems waiting to be rediscovered. After this episode, we'll have a poll up on our social media, which I just explained to you guys. You vote for the year you're most curious about, and during our next segment, I'll present the film from the winning year. It's a mixed pick. Not only will get the movie recommendation, but I'll also spill some behind-the-scenes tidbits, why it's a must-watch movie, and some contemporary films has influenced. But remember, while voting is fun, there are no losers. Each of the years has an iconic film. This is all about sharing love in cinema and maybe, just maybe, helping you find your next film. That's right, guys. I did write out a script for this today just because it's so brand new. So please feel free if you're watching this. That's why I was reading it. I was doing the final touch-ups before. Oh, Radar, the first one to go. Nobody else voted. He said 1975. All right. Well, you chose, sir, and I will give it to you. So 1975, I am choosing for you my mix pick of this week. The first one in this segment on the Scene Snobs Podcast is Death Race 2000. It's a great movie. David Carradine does a fantastic job in it. Sylvester Stallone pops up in there as well. So you're going to see some really familiar faces. It is an outback adventure like no other, a huge car race with a lot of fatal situations occurring. So it's just a really good movie, though. If you guys haven't had a chance to go check out Death Race 2000, they've remade it with Jason Statham. And I didn't think it was such a bad remake, but it just does not have the same feel as the exploitation film from 1975. It's a good time. So if you haven't seen this movie, I chose this because it's summer. Get out there. We're all like, want to be in our nice cars. We want to travel. And if you're going to sit down and you're going to watch a movie, why not watch a movie about killer racers running the gamut? It's basically Cannonball Run and Fast and Furious all mixed up into one. I would love to see what you guys think of it, though. So if you do watch this mixed pick, please sound off. I would love to hear it. Please let me know what you think, because I am super excited to interact with you and see what you guys think of all this stuff. So Worst Damn Gamer Ever says, super everyone. How are all the snobs doing? You got here a little late, but we love you, buddy, nonetheless. Wait, that's a remake? Yeah, the Jason Statham one is a remake. 1975 is the original with David Carradine. So go check that out if you haven't. All right, guys. So I'm Mick Manhattan from the Scene Snobs. If you haven't, done this before, or hung out with us, please feel free to like this video. It helps us go a long way. Subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you a part of it, and join up on the Snobs Nation. Follow us on social media, join up on the Discord, Facebook group, like I said, and just join in and talk with us. We have a great time. We also have a Patreon available with other shows available as well, and we have more coming all the time. So like I said, Discovering Horror, Does It Suck, the Snobs Film History, and all those other videos and more that we do. All those recorded videos go to our Patreon first, so you get them first come, first serve. Everybody's already watched them. I put them out Sunday, but you will see them on YouTube. They come out a few days after. But also, we have exclusive shows like Warp Factor Fiction. That's our Star Trek rewatch show. We also have the Totally Tubular 80s and 90s Rewatch podcast. It has a twist to it. We bring guests on. My wife and I host that. We pick out either a movie and we rewatch it, review it, talk about it, what it meant to us in the time, and how it kind of stood out to us. But also, if you are a guest on the show, you pick the movie or you pick the show. If you pick a show, you got to pick your 3 favorite episodes, and that will be there for us to talk about. All right, guys, I'm Mick Manhattan from the Scene Snobs. I want to thank you guys so much. And if you guys are interested, like I said, in, talking about going over to the Patreon, stuff like that, and going to the film school, because we do have a film school that's available on there as well. You can go read all about that. Links down below. But be a part of it. Snobtober is coming. If you guys don't know what Snobtober is, October is our big month. It's our 4-year anniversary on October 6th, and October 31st, we'll be doing a live Halloween show. It's going to be crazy. We're going to be dressed up. We're going to have a bunch of guests. It's going to be nuts. We're going to be celebrating horror. We're going to be celebrating Halloween. We're going to be drinking, having a good time, and the whole 9 yards. Make sure you jump in, because that's our 300th episode of the Scene Snobs podcast, and we'd love to have you be there, part of it. So as we go along, jump in. Snobtober's huge. Casters for a Cause, Friday 13th script reading on October 13th. And I'm doing a live ghost hunt and so much more. Stay tuned. You're not going to know this stuff unless you're following the shows, unless you're following us on social media. I know I'm railing on a little bit, but I want to say thank you guys so much for joining in, being a part of it. You guys are all awesome. You're my horror snobs, you're my movie snobs, and everything in between. You guys are great. Be kind to each other. Stay groovy. And take care. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. I missed the cue.